Law, Delaware, has been a registered offender, and people including Jimmy himself knew about this and had conversations talking about this, and it looks like they were just totally fine with having a registered sex offender who committed crimes against somebody who was under the age of 11 years old on the Mr. Beast team back in 2018. If you want to learn about the whole situation in depth and detail, once again I put that video out on my main channel yesterday. Now on to Jake the Viking's response. Here's the truth. Yes, Delaware is my brother-in-law. Yes, he is a registered offender. When he was 21, a 16-year-old girl accused him and others of SA when she was 11. Delaware took a plea deal. That's why there was no jail time, but he still had to register. His name isn't Delaware because he can't go back to Delaware. He's from Delaware. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He's been back several times. He was hired before I was and was actually the reason I got hired at Mr. Beast. Before being hired, Delaware sat down with Jimmy and Sue, Jimmy's mom, and explained to them everything. So yes, Jimmy knew, but again, this incident happened in 2010. Delaware was hired in 2017 to 2018. Delaware was also let go from the company before I was. Delaware was supposed to be a behind-the-scenes manager, but in a couple of videos he was asked to partake because we needed people. He was reluctant, especially in the straitjacket video because of his charges, and that's why he wore the mask. Delaware's charges are set to be dropped this fall. Delaware has been nothing but a good person, an amazing husband to my sister, and the best father to my two nieces that I could ever ask for. They want no part in this and want to just live their lives away from the limelight. I understand why anyone would be upset and frustrated over these allegations, and I do not blame them. Hurting kids in any way is completely unacceptable, but in the case of Delaware, I firmly believe he did nothing wrong and look forward to the day these charges are dropped. Thank you. So in terms of Jake the Viking here and why people are pissed off at him, I mean, why didn't this stuff come out sooner? Why did somebody else have to bring it up for you to address it, for you to talk about it and bring it to light? Like when the situation started going down regarding Chris Tyson, Jake was over here vague tweeting things like Jimmy knew and the silence is deafening. And he also was going at Chris Tyson when he had this stuff and nobody knew about it and he didn't come out and expose it and address it, like almost as if this was just a huge secret or something. I mean, I'll be honest here, this is probably 10 times worse than Chris Tyson and like Chris Tyson's whole thing, because apparently it was just a known fact to the Mr. Beast team, including Mr. Beast himself and Jake the Viking, that there was a registered sex offender working for a media company making videos where the main demographic for that content is literally little children. And then it turns out that apparently he was convicted for allegedly R-wording somebody under the age of 11. Like really, I think that should have been something that should have been addressed and like thrown out there when this was all going down. And I really don't understand why this guy was vague tweeting and keeping this to himself and getting all this attention for exposing Chris Tyson. And he was just gonna let this go like it was nothing. Like that right there, that's a cover-up. Now, okay, besides that, there was a mention in this tweet that this was something potentially that was falsely said against him and used against him. And when it comes down to that, I don't know exactly like how that works for the legal system in that aspect. I've watched a few videos about it, and if it actually turns out to be true that he was falsely accused and he never did such acts, honestly, that would be fucked up. And once again, I know nothing about like really the legal system in terms of like how plea deals work and stuff like that, like whether or not you should take a plea deal if the jury doesn't believe you or whatever, or you don't think they're gonna believe what you have to say, so you don't have to go to jail and, you know, instead you only have to be on the registry for like 15 years or whatever. Like, I'm not exactly sure why they took the plea deal in this situation, but based off of that, we don't know 100% if this actually happened or not. Like, for all we know, this guy could have actually done this and then just took the plea deal so that he didn't have to go to prison. Like, we're only being told by Jake that apparently he's innocent and that Jake thinks that he didn't do it, but all I see right here with him taking a plea deal, and if you know anything about a plea deal, because these are the few things that I do know about them, is that when you take the plea deal, you plead guilty. So yeah, he literally pleaded guilty to this charge right here against somebody who was 11 years old or younger. So just based off of knowing this, even if it does happen to be true that, oh, this guy, he's innocent, even though we're probably never gonna know if he's innocent. Yeah, what Mr. Beast did here though was he willingly hired a sex offender who pleaded guilty to doing this and violating a minor. And Mr. Beast doing what he does just was like, yeah, whatever, it's fine, okay? We need people, he can come on. From what you told me, despite him being a sex offender, you know, you said that he was falsely accused by this person, and even though he pleaded guilty with this plea deal, we're still gonna have him on the Mr. Beast crew, where our main demographic is young ass kids. Like, I shouldn't have to be telling you why a offender who was charged with a crime against a minor shouldn't be working for Mr. Beast. And the fact that it happened is just the most absurd thing ever. And given all the stuff that has came out against Chris Tyson and what Chris Tyson was doing, it is a terrible look. And the fact that the Mr. Beast crew, including Jimmy and Jake, knew about this and hid it from the public and didn't say anything about it is just ridiculous. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the response. And what a terrible response this was. Now moving on to a not so dark topic. It's still regarding Mr. Beast, but it's about Mr. Beast's ex-girlfriend, in which recently Mr. Beast's ex-girlfriend spoke out against Mr. Beast. And before we get into this, I just wanted to say, I mean, when it comes down to an ex, I mean, depending on how the relationship went and how they broke up, like say if it was bad, she could be trying to get revenge on Mr. Beast, or at least not have the best intentions. So yeah, just with that being said, I don't know how credible she is going to be, so just keep that in mind. Now let's get into it. Mr. Beast's ex-girlfriend speaking out on her Instagram. Maddie Spadell does not directly mention Mr. Beast, but her post heavily implies she's talking about him. Now let's take a look. I spent years being quiet, never acknowledging that time in my life, just quietly cheering on those who I saw mistreated. I don't want drama, I don't want anything, I just want to speak up for my 19-year-old self. 19 to 21 are formative years, and as a young woman, it impacted the way I saw myself, the way I interpreted my future, and how I trusted men. There was no user manual, there was no instructions on how to deal with gaining a following so quickly. No cheat sheet on dating someone famous. I did the best I could, but I was not okay. Months of therapy, so many journal entries, long talks with my mom. Why do I still feel like it was all for nothing? I believe I should be used as a cautionary tale. If something is too good to be true, it probably is. How he treats other women will ultimately be how he treats you. You are smart, beautiful, and capable of a career, life, and relationship you are proud of. I do not aim to take anyone down, just simply and explicitly tell you that there are scary people out there. People will hurt you, use you, spit you out, and then tell you it's your fault. It's all of our jobs to protect our friends, our moms, our wives, our sisters, our daughters, ourselves from people like that. If you see something not cool, speak up. And then here's the first Instagram story that came before what we just read. At YouTube, you need to reevaluate who you're putting on the trending page. Now for people who are unaware, Mr. Beast on almost every video that he posts, well actually, as far as I'm aware, it's every video that Mr. Beast posts, due to all of the attention the videos that he posts get, they're always going on trending no matter what he puts out. So it looks like it's very clear that she is talking about her ex, Mr. Beast, or Jimmy Donaldson. She later goes on to make a tweet on her Twitter and she says, 3 years away from that weirdo. My skin is clear, my relationship and friends are flourishing, I'm frolicking in a field. Quote, she's so vague. Quote, she said nothing. From the looks of it, I don't need to. Not putting myself through that shit again, but thanks. So yeah, that's pretty much all that was said. And this has came out amid all of the other things that have came out against Mr. Beast, including the sex offender thing. Just figured I would cover it in an update video because I know that you guys from the main channel, if there are people from the main channel here, I know you guys were asking me for my opinion on the response that Jake put out, and also Mr. Beast's ex-girlfriend coming out against him. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, if you did, hit the like button, subscribe, comment,